Let's talk about the latest Mandalorian episode, Chapter 19. The opening of this episode blew me away. TIE Fighters, Mandalorian Starfighters, the N1. Literally, if you grew up like me playing Star Wars Starfighter, you love the opening sequence to this chapter. With a TIE Fighter chase around Bo-Katan's castle, things getting blown up. Spoiler warning, by the way, this is a video review for Mandalorian Chapter 19. If you haven't watched it, go watch it, then come back. I'm not carrying around with spoiler warnings, we're going straight in. Okay, now they're potentially gone and we're not going to get shouted at for spoiling anything. Bo-Katan's whole castle got wiped out by whoever this Imperial warlord is. So basically, this episode opens up with your typical TIE Fighter chase around Bo-Katan's homeworld planet. This is following them leaving the mines of Mandalore, or the living waters of Mandalore, should I say, and they eventually go back to the planet. But en route, they get chased by TIE Fighters, the Mandalorian escapes, gets in the M1, and all chaos ensues. Let's rewind for a second. Bo-Katan seems intent on hiding the fact that Mythosaur may be alive in the living waters of Mandalore. Now, there could be two ways of looking at this, or maybe three. One is that she's just not sure on what she actually saw, she doesn't believe there is something down there. Two, she's just hiding it from Din Djarin. Three, she hopes to use it to betray Din Djarin and use that as a legitimate claim to rule Mandalore. If you notice by the end of the episode, she looks at the skull of a Mythosaur in the Mandalorian's covert cave. I guess we can call it that, if whatever it is, maybe the HQ. Now, not only does this probably symbolize the fact she's back with her people, the Mandalorians, it also probably theorizes and suggests that she is thinking about the Mythosaur, which she saw in the living waters. Given the conversation with the armorer about the fact they've just both been there, and she's confident somewhat in what she has seen, she probably knows the symbolism of the Mythosaur gives her a legitimate claim not only to rule Mandalore, but also unite these sort of fractured clans. We know we're going to be seeing more Mandalorians at some point throughout Season 3. Here we have the Covert, aka the Children of the Watch. It says a lot. Regardless though, this was a fantastic episode of The Mandalorian, one of the longest running episodes so far, and it was brilliant. Yes, we didn't spend much time with Din Djarin and Bo-Katan, as we mainly focused on Dr. Pershing and, Lieutenant Elia Kane, I believe is her name, the communications officer from Moff Gideon. And we spent a lot of time on Coruscant. Now, I'm not going to complain. Andor treated us very well in live-action Coruscant appearances, whereas here in The Mandalorian, we're also getting it as well. And I believe we will be seeing more of it later down the line. That I can't wait for. In terms of Coruscant, we see how much the New Republic is taking over. They've been sat on this world for quite a few years now. Obviously, this is many years after the Battle of Endor and the Battle of Jakku and the Battle of Coruscant, for example. Therefore, they've claimed the planet, they've set up shop, and we still see elements of the New Republic taking over. They do have soldiers and things running around, but they are reliant on droid forces. We saw a bit of this in Season 1 of The Mandalorian, when one of the prison ships was guarded by just one guy and then a bunch of droids. Here we see it again, where it's basically a couple of guys here and there and a lot of droids running around. Thankfully not for Clone Wars, we even see droids sort of like therapists or recovery agents interviewing Dr. Pershing a few times, and that's about it. Thankfully we do see some more New Republic people. I was hoping we would see someone like Captain Carson Teva. We know he's appearing later on in the season, and he's delivering a cold warning message about there's something going on out there. So we know this planet's going to get revisited, we know he's back on Coruscant, and hopefully we'll see more of Dr. Pershing, given his fate at the end of the episode. Many of you might be confused about Pershing's fate at the end of the episode. It appears Elia Kane, or the Lieutenant, betrayed him essentially. Now, why would she do this? Well, one theory I have, and what makes it good, is she's covering up the Imperial Remnant's cloning technology and wanting to deny the New Republic access to this tech. Because if Dr. Pershing was doing this for Gideon, but secretly then doing it for Thrawn or Palpatine, shall we say, then you do not want the New Republic cracking onto the idea. From Star Wars Legends, we know Grand Admiral Thrawn was very interested in cloning. From Star Wars canon, we know Palpatine is interested in cloning as he eventually comes back. So you probably want to deny the New Republic access to that and various things, because it's not a good idea. There are tidbits of information hidden throughout the Coruscant sections of this episode. One important key factor is we hear the New Republic is decommissioning the Imperial fleet. We also see part of this as well, with the Star Destroyers being torn down. Now, they are actually using Imperial technology, which is hilarious. One of the gunships they intercept people with is actually an Imperial, or rather an Old Republic one. We can't really say Old Republic, but rather, Galactic Republic, I guess we should say, because that's the one before the Empire. So that's pretty cool to see. And there is everything being taken over and sort of just have this New Republic seal stamped on it, which is interesting. There's a lot of callbacks to the cloning technology, but also Darth Plagueis and Palpatine. For example, the opening scene is the Opera House. This is where Anakin and Palpatine had that conversation in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, where Palpatine told Anakin Skywalker about his master Darth Plagueis, and we get that sort of Plagueis-style music playing. We hear it throughout this episode as well, at a various point when Dr. Pershing is talking about cloning and Imperial technology and things like that. It begs a lot of questions and further hints towards Palpatine or Thrawn, for example. So yeah, going back to the TIE Interceptors, a lot of people are going to have questions of where these TIE Interceptors came from to hunt down Bo-Katan and destroy her castle. Because these weren't just interceptors, there's a whole wave, a whole squadron of them, and then some, and then TIE bombers as well. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and even Bo-Katan and Marks, that's a lot of firepower for a warlord. Yes, she has pissed some off by stealing their light cruiser and upsetting a bunch of others. Is the Mandalorian about to introduce Grand Admiral Thrawn? While I wish that would be the case, I don't think it will do it in Season 3. I would happily hold my hands up and be incorrect because I would love to see Thrawn. However, I think they're setting up Moff Gideon to be this another villain and is maybe someone who's rounding up the warlords. Giancarlo Esposito dropped a hint by saying that Gideon's job was to round up these warlords. Very similar to what Thrawn did in Star Wars Legends. If you read Heir to the Empire and that trilogy of books, then you know how that goes. Here we see something that may have happened along that lines, but perhaps it's Gideon who's done it. There is a comment also in this episode dropped about Gideon potentially escaping New Republic custody and running off, but even one of the other former Empire officers, now a New Republic officer, basically says, oh, that's not the case, it's just a cover story. They may have used a mind flare on him. We see the mind flare at the end of the episode. One thing I can comment on this episode it does well, so chapter 19, is it mentions things and then lays them out later on for you to follow along. The mind flare is mentioned early in the episode, and then we see at the end of the episode with Dr. Pershing's eventual fate. Now, he'll come back at some point, I believe. I don't think we've seen the end of him, but it was pretty cool to see that betrayal. Overall, this was a fantastic episode of The Mandalorian. I've got to comment on the fight scene once again. The authentic and original Star Wars sounds of the N1, Bo-Katan's Mandalorian starship, the TIE fighters, R4 in the background was fantastic, or R5 should I say, was absolutely fantastic. It really expands and amplifies the episode as a whole when we've got these original sounds and interesting things going on. I absolutely loved it. Seeing Coruscant again with these sort of callbacks to the Clone Wars and Episode 3 was fantastic. For example, the top of Coruscant's highest mountain, we see it in this sort of like plaza funfair area. We've seen this in the Clone Wars before. Both Duchess Satine Kryze and Obi-Wan Kenobi meet here in one of the Clone Wars episodes when the Duchess is being hunted by the Republic for supposedly doing XYZ as usual. It's really, really cool, and I can't wait to see more of it. And the sort of emotional connections here is amazing. And what The Mandalorian is doing in terms of universe and story building is fantastic. Yes, we didn't spend much time with Bo-Katan and Din Djarin as a whole this episode. We spent about 30 minutes on Coruscant and only about 15 to 20 with Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. Not that that's a problem, because it's expanding the universe and story world that Mandalorian actually lives in. We're seeing Coruscant be established as this New Republic capital planet. For the minute, but it still could be Chandrila, which is the likely case, and also perhaps Hosnian Prime. It depends where we are in the timeline. I'm not sure if it's moved to Chandrila just yet. I'll have to check my notes for that. This is just a review. I'll do some more explaining stuff later, or maybe one of you know. Regardless, setting all of this up is fantastic because we know other Star Wars series are coming down the pipeline which will use these assets. For example, Ahsoka is definitely going to make use of the Imperial Remnant and something going on out there. If they are setting up Thrawn as a big bad return, then all of this is just laying out and being fantastic. I can't wait to see where it goes. I can't wait to see what happens with Bo-Katan and whether she's going to betray Din Djarin and maybe use the Mythril Sword to stake her claim. And maybe we'll see her versus Din Djarin to claim back the Darksaber. That could be pretty interesting on how things go. We don't know how it'll go yet. No one knows. It'll be really interesting to see how it goes. For now, this has been my review of Chapter 19. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't wait to discuss this in more detail throughout the week before we get to Chapter 20, I believe it is. It's been fantastic. For now, I've been Captain Jack here on Star Wars Now. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this review, then get commenting down below and tell me what you thought of the latest Star Wars episode. Don't forget, we've also got The Bad Batch today, airing on Disney+. Go watch that. Our review will be up on Friday, and we'll see you then. Okay, everyone. May the Force be with you. Goodbye.